Today we're going to be talking about Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Jean Piaget was a developmental psychologist who wanted to study a little bit more about children and their cognitive development. Piaget spent over half a century studying children's minds and wanted to change the theory that children's minds were just miniature models of adults. Piaget's studies led him to believe that children's minds develop over a series of different stages. Piaget's core idea was the fact that we would develop these things called schemas in which we would pour in our mental experiences and expand our concepts of already previously known things. Piaget believed that the maturing and developing brain created these things called schemas. They were mental molds in which we would pour into our cognitive experiences and expand our concepts of previously known things. Piaget wanted to explain how we change our schemas, and through this he created the idea of assimilation and accommodation. Assimilation, we would interpret new experiences, and through accommodation, expand our schemas to incorporate these new experiences. Piaget also introduced the idea that children go through multiple stages of cognitive development. The stages he came up with included that of the sensory motor stage, the pre-operational stage, the concrete operation stage, and the formal operation stage. The first stage, being the sensory motor stage, takes place from birth to around age 2. During this stage, babies are just making sense of the world. They're looking, they're touching, they're feeling, they're trying to understand the things around them. Before the age of 6 months, infants lack what is known as object permanence. That is, when an object is in front of them, they do not believe it exists. Around the age of 8 months, though, children begin to create a memory for objects and begin to recognize that they exist when they're no longer in front of them. At the sensory motor stage, Piaget believed that we went through what is known as the pre-operational stage. This lasts until about age 6 or 7. Children are able to represent things with words and images, but they are unable to complete mental operations. Another thing that Piaget discovered is the idea of conservation. When you pour a liquid into a taller glass from a smaller glass, the younger child will believe that there is now more liquid in the taller glass, despite there being the same amount of liquid. Children only focus on the height of the container and therefore believe that there is now more liquid. Children around this age like to play pretend with objects, and they also go through a period of egocentrism. They're unable to feel and understand something from another person's point of view. Around the age of 7, children begin to move into what is known as the concrete operational stage. Around this age, children begin to develop what is known as conservation. It is around this time that children are also able to understand simple mathematical operations. At the age of 12, children are now reaching what is known as the formal operational stage. Children are now able to ponder hypothetical questions and deduce consequences from hypotheticals. For instance, if this, then that. During this stage, are able to understand abstract logic and understand and grasp the potential for increased more moral reasoning when it comes to their judgments. His theory of cognitive development has assisted developmental psychologists tremendously. We're able to understand and give reasoning to the development of children. We're able to understand how their brains work, and we're able to use this as a foundation for even more research that comes about in the future. By using this research, we're able to explain to parents how their children think and understand the logic behind a young child and how they seemingly live in a world of absurdities. All of this is actually meant for something. The developmental stages are there in order to nurture the brain and allow the child to go through a series of events in which they grasp the world around them and mature into productive and critically thinking minds. On the right-hand side of the poster, we have 6 photographs. The first 3 are that of a young girl sitting before 2 glasses of milk. She sees the taller glass of milk versus the smaller glass of milk. Of course, because she has not developed her idea of conservation, she believes that the taller glass has the larger amount of milk, even though it does not. In fact, the smaller glass and the taller glass have the same amount of milk, but because she has not developed the idea of conservation, what appears to her eye is there is a lot more milk in that taller glass, and that is what she will believe until she develops her sense of conservation. In the second three photographs, we have a young infant who is sitting before her stuffed animal. The infant's stuffed animal is then covered with a towel, and she then looks for it under the towel and finds it. That is because this infant has developed their sense of object permanence. Infants who have not developed that yet believe that once the object is covered by the towel, the object is simply no longer there. These help to explain some of the stages that children go through during Piaget's cognitive development stages. Children go through the periods of egocentrism and playing pretend and learning about conservation and object permanence. And all these play a major role in a child's development and understanding of the world. In the next two chapters, we'll be taking a break, and we will return with posters in Chapter 7 on learning theories. See you then.